Well, sometimes you have to wait years and years and years for new music from a band, but that is not the case for Fixation, who are about to drop a brand new mini album called Speak in Tongues on October the 11th. And we thought today we would actually get one of the members of the band on the phone to chat a little bit about this great new album. So, welcome to the program, Jonas.
Thank you so much.
So, Jonas, tell us a little bit about this mini album because, of course, a lot of people out there fell in love with your debut album and they may have been expecting that it might be a while before some new music came out, but we've been very lucky to get Speak in Tongues coming out. Tell us a little bit about what people can expect to hear on this album.
Yeah, it's we got the assignment to make an EP that we could have in the meantime while people were waiting for a new album, and just making an EP wasn't that easy for us, so so we had to do something more, and so it became 8 tracks. 4 of them are sort of interludes, and 4 of them are proper songs, and so it ended up being like a mini album. And it's a heavier sound than we've gone for before, which is a really fun direction to take the band. Something that we wanted to do for a long time, so we feel like now was the time to do it.
So, what was that about wanting to be heavier? Was that you said it was something that you've been wanting to do for a long time? Tell us a little bit about that. Was it something that was discussed, or was it something that was just kind of in the back of your mind for a long time?
No, it's we've always listened to heavy music, and I think when we started in 2020 writing the Global Suicide EP, we wanted to take the band in a more heavy direction, but I don't think we quite figured it out until now. And during the recording process of this mini album, I learned how to scream properly. It's been something I've been trying for a couple of years, and just during the recording process of this mini album is when I figured it out. So it allowed us to take the band in a much heavier direction.
Definitely. And there's a little bit of a concept there as well with this album. Tell us a little bit about that concept and how you've brought that to life.
Yeah, it's so like in general, the mini album is about cults and belonging and feeling like you don't belong in the world. And it was something I wanted to write about for a long time. I think the concept was there even before we released the debut album, and it's always fascinated me. Cults. It's such a weird phenomenon, and the psychological aspect of it is what really captured my interest. I've seen a lot of documentaries and read a lot about it online, and the thing that really I find interesting is how people can blindly follow this person that claims to be a prophet or a leader, and also how this person feel like they can exploit people for their beliefs. And we during the writing, I pulled a lot of strings that made it fit into the society that we live in, and that's sort of what the mini album is about.
Definitely, it's a topic that I find really fascinating as well. I'm actually writing a theatre show at the moment about a cult, and for you, you said it was the psychological aspect of it, but where did that interest in cults first begin for you? And did you do any kind of research or looking further into cults while you were working on this album?
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of, like I said, watching a lot of documentaries and reading a lot about it, and especially during the writing, as I do every time I write lyrics, I get really involved in the topic and read a lot about it, just to make sure I know what I'm talking about, and or how I perceive it at least. And yeah, I read a lot about it. I we were on like the different websites for some of the cults that still exist to this day, and read like the manifesto that they have, and tried to understand sort of what their belief is, and how they ended up there. And also what that inspired was, some lyrical points that I could start with, reading these manifestos. I could find the words that piqued my interest, and sort of build on that as well.
People out there probably don't realize just how scary cults can be, in the sense that they do still exist. They're not something that's from the past or anything like that. You mentioned about with the lyrics of this, you were very careful to make it modern. Tell us a little bit about that for you. Why was that important to you, and how did you go about doing that?
Yeah, as you said, there's still a lot of cults. There's so many actually that you don't really hear about, and I think from like the 60s and to maybe the 90s, you hear about these famous cults that have been like been the stamp in history that everyone knows about. But there's still a lot of cults from then and now that has never been spoken about in all over the world. I think there's like 10,000 cults in the US alone or something like that today.
Oh.
It's really interesting, and it can vary from 3 people to hundreds. And we wanted it to fit with, we've always written something that's sort of about the world we live in and the society that we live in, and I wanted it to fit in with that theme as well. And that's why I figured out while writing this that there's a lot of things that you don't really consider a cult, but it has the same sort of aspects that you would expect from a cult. For instance, politics or religion, and a lot of what's going on in today's society. Even music, how you can be so captivated by a musician and follow everything that they say, even if it's not something you believe in.
Yeah. I also understand that you took inspiration from things like June and Don't Worry Darling as well. Can you tell us a little bit about how they inspired you as well?
Yeah, a lot of the record this time was inspired by my movie soundtracks or film music, and Dune was sort of where it started. I listened a lot to that soundtrack, and it has this eerie sort of tribal feeling to it that I really enjoyed, and I felt like it fit well with the concept that I was developing at that time. And I feel like we sort of, you can hear it in the first song or the first interlude, that it's definitely inspired by the soundtrack of Dune. And Don't Worry Darling as well. I just watched it one night with my girlfriend here at home, and what kept like sticking out for me was the soundtrack. It was so creepy in a good way. A lot of the breaths in the songs, and these weird mechanical synth noises that it inspired a lot of especially the interludes. We wanted them to sound like sort of thriller soundtracks or horror movie soundtracks.
Yeah, I agree. June is one of those amazing soundtracks, that tribal kind of sound that comes through so often in. And I remember watching it in the cinema, and it blew me away. Is that something that you would like to do one day? Would you like to work on a soundtrack for a movie?
I've thought about it. I think it's a really hard job to do, and it's also probably very fun and experimental. I would love to try it out, but I'm not sure if I would be able to. It's different from writing a song with a pop structure, with a chorus and a verse and a pre-chorus.
Yeah.
But I think definitely it would be a fun experience to have.
Definitely. Now, I know we're running out of time very quickly, but I wanted to ask us something about a quote that I heard from you. You said in an interview that you learnt a lot as songwriters and instrumentalists as well while you were working on this album. What kind of things did you learn?
Yeah, uh, like going back to the debut album, which we spent such a long time writing and recording. I think that's what really taught us how to write this time around. What not to spend a lot of time on, things that aren't that important to nitpick, and uh, this time around, I think the process went so much quicker. That's why we're releasing it a year after, and we've learned so much about each other as songwriters and instrumentalists, as well as ourselves. And I think also we've learned a lot about the sound. As I said, I hadn't really known how to scream properly before recording this record. It not only made me be able to scream properly, but it also bettered my clean vocals as well. It taught me so much how I can reach higher pitch just because I know this technique now. And there was a lot more fun writing this and recording this, and a lot more, working together, which I really enjoyed.
Definitely. Now, like I said, I know we're running out of time very quickly, so I guess to finish off, what would you like to say to your fans out there who are about to listen to Speak in Tongues in just a couple of days? And is there any chance that we might see you guys in Australia for a tour at some stage as well?
Well, for the people that are going to listen, I would like to say, please listen to the whole thing. It's a story from the start to the end. We're super proud of it. I can't wait for people to react to it. I want to see what people get out of it. If they love it as much as we do. And of course, we'd love to come to Australia. It would be awesome. It's this place that we've always dreamed about coming to, and there's so much great music coming out of Australia as well. It's feels like a dream place that you want to play in.